Hey,
Thank
welcome
you.
back, everybody. So kids are back in school, and that means, hey, parents, we are once again packing those daily lunches. Oh, it's so much fun. And this year, more than ever, our little ones could use perhaps a little bit of extra love in their lunch boxes.
So our next guest says the best way to do that is with some homemade baked goods. Here with simple and delicious recipes is Toronto baker Colin Asuncion. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be back on the show sharing some back-to-school recipes with all of you.
Thank you. And you have shared some, in fact, a lot of things here, so we're going to dive right in. But we'll start with perhaps a question that a lot of parents may be asking, like this one right here, because sending lunchbox love to school every day, it's such a lovely, beautiful idea. But like me, maybe other parents out there watching, it's like, okay, I'm not much of a baker. It's really busy still at this time of year, perhaps for all of September. So what do you have to say to parents like me?
I totally get it. Listen, baking can absolutely be daunting, and some people might find it a little intimidating to incorporate it into your weekly routine. But I promise that these recipes today are simple, they're really quick to come together, they don't require any specialty equipment, and they're just great for school lunches. They're all nut-free, which makes them totally school-safe.
Love.
All right, so Colin, they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, so we're gonna start there with your hearty breakfast muffins. Tell us about these. Well, we get to try.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love a muffin in the morning. It's a nice way to tide me over from breakfast to lunch or just as a quick grab and go breakfast. So these muffins are really hearty. They've got chocolate chips, toasted coconut, pumpkin seeds, and cranberries, and a little hint of cinnamon for a nice fall flavor. And again, they're really easy to grab and go or throw in a school lunch. It's sort of a no-brainer when it comes to a morning snack or breakfast.
They're dense.
Yeah, they're nice and full of lots of really good inclusions and nice ingredients.
Okay, I'm not really eating a lot of dairy or consuming a lot of dairy at all these days. So you swapped out cow's milk in this recipe for me. So what did you use instead?
Yes, that's right. So we used coconut milk. Now, you can use any type of milk you like. You can use cow's milk, of course, or you can use soy milk or oat milk. Now, I like to use coconut milk when I'm not using cow's milk because it adds a really nice rich flavor and a really nice silky texture to the muffin. And of course, you can also customize the add-ins. So again, we have pumpkin seeds, chocolate, cranberries. You can throw anything you like in the muffin. The world is your oyster.
These are good muffins, but we're gonna move on to something that screams fall, and it is officially pumpkin season. Not in July, but September is very acceptable for pumpkins. So of course, you had to bake something with the classic fall flavor. Tell us about this pumpkin bread.
100%. So I had to do something with pumpkin because when it comes to fall flavors, let's be honest, pumpkin really is the Beyonce of the group. So we have a nice classic pumpkin bread for you today. It's got nice warm fall spices, and I've topped mine with some green pumpkin seeds for some nice visual interest, as well as a nice crunch, a really nice textural element.
Oh, I love
We're in love with this.
It's so good. Listen,
good. I'm so
I'm
glad.
not asking you this question for me because I would never say less is more. But you mentioned that this recipe makes 2 loaves. Is it easy to half the recipe if you just want to make one? Why would you? But anyway, for those who want to.
Absolutely. So yeah, the recipe does make 2 loaves, but if for whatever reason you think you or your family can't finish the second loaf, you can either half the recipe to just make 1. Absolutely, it's very easy to do. Or you can take the second loaf, wrap it in cling film, in plastic wrap, and throw it in the freezer. It's very freezer friendly. Or you can just give the second loaf to a neighbor. It's a nice, friendly thing to do to show your love with the people around you. Yeah.
That's delicious and so nice as well. Yeah, this is moist and wow. We both just went, oh.
I know.
Okay, we're going to move on to, I think, another perpetual classic because I don't think there's anybody alive that doesn't love some kind of chocolate chip cookie. It definitely hit in my house, but yours are leveled up because not only do you have a good chocolate chip cookie recipe you're about to show us, but yours are also fully loaded. So tell us how you made them and what are they loaded with?
Yes, so I've got 2 types of cookies that I sent to the studio today, and they're loaded with lots of delicious fun things. So the first one has chocolate chunks, cherries, toasted coconut, and toasted oats. And then the second one has chocolate chunks, pretzels, roasted corn, and caramel corn. So it's crunchier, a little bit savory. Now, you can add whatever you like in these cookies. They're totally customizable, just like the muffins. You can throw whatever you like, and it's a great way to get your kids in the kitchen, to have them come up with their favorite combo of ingredients to throw in those cookies.
The cherry might be a game changer. I never thought that.
And the caramel corn.
I love dried cherries in cookies.
Hey, so you know, Colin, everybody thinks that they have the end-all and be-all of chocolate chip cookie, okay? So what is that key to making a chocolate chip cookie that stands above the rest?
Yes, absolutely. Now, there are a couple tips. Whatever recipe you're using at home, if you have a favorite chocolate chip cookie recipe, here are some tips that you can apply to whatever directions you're using. So the first one I have is to, when you're mixing your butter and your sugar, don't mix on high. Because if you mix on high, you're whipping a bunch of air into those ingredients, and you're creating these little air bubbles. And even though your dough is going to look really fluffy and cute, when you throw that in the oven, the air is going to deflate, and your cookie will spread and be really thin, and it might not hold together. So when you're mixing your butter and your sugar, mix on medium or low.
Good tip.
Now, my second tip is you're going to want to chill your dough. Now, flour has enzymes, and when you let that dough rest, the enzymes react and they're able to brown more when it's baked. It also allows the sugar to absorb moisture from the flour, and then that will also help caramelize and add a delicious chewy flavor or chewy texture and delicious flavor to the cookies.
Oh my gosh, I love chemistry and science and baking. I love it. I love it.
Don't turn this into homework. Stop
It's
it.
not homework. It's just, I need to make it
I'm
more
not a
accessible
scientist,
for
I'm just
people like me. I want to get turned on to baking, so, you know, make it chemistry, I guess. You know what? I'm looking at one of the cookies, in fact, both of them, and I noticed that there are chocolate chunks in here as opposed to chocolate chips. Why is that, Colin?
Yes, so I always use chopped chocolate when it comes to my chocolate chip cookies for a couple of reasons. The first one is aesthetic. I just think it looks nicer. It looks like a nice artisanal cookie from a fancy bakery, but also it adds a nice textural element. So you have irregular chunks. Some are big, some are medium, so it has a really nice mouthfeel. And then also you'll have those little crumbs of chocolate that sort of melt into the cookie dough, which makes it chewier and just more interesting and somehow more chocolatey.
Oh, it's good.
Well, we are on a good roll right now, so let's move on. I'm really excited about the next one. It's cheddar chive cornbread. I love cornbread. I love it in the fall and winter with chili. But why do you think it makes a great lunchbox addition?
So, Lainey, I also love cornbread. To me, cornbread equals comfort. It's sweet and salty. It's absolutely delicious. And then this cornbread, it has a really nice kick of flavor from cheddar cheese and chives. So because of that extra flavor, oh good, I'm glad you like it. Now, this cornbread I think is more of a main event rather than a side dish. So you could serve this in a lunchbox with some cold cuts and cheese and some veggies, or you can serve it with a thermos of hot soup and chili. It's so comforting, so delicious.
It is delicious.
Wow.
It's so good. It's so good. I
I'm so
almost
glad.
don't want to move on to the final item, but I have a feeling that we're also going to be just as excited. This is a brownie with a twist. These are tahini swirl brownies. What? I'm so curious. Tell us
Yeah.
about it.
So I love brownies. I think brownies are just decadent, delicious. They're a total no-brainer. But I've added a nice twist to these with a tahini swirl. Now, the last time I was on the show, I shared a recipe for tahini cookies because I am on a personal mission to get more people to bake with tahini just because I think it tastes good. So you can use whatever recipe you like for brownies. We have one online, but if you have a favorite recipe, use that. And then you just want to take some tahini, eggs, and brown sugar and mix that together. And then you drop dollops of that into the batter as you see right now. And then you swirl it around with a butter knife to create that marbled effect.
Nice.
And it's a really nice visual effect, and it's also just so delicious to have that extra kick of flavor.
So speaking of flavor, because tahini is sort of sesame seed based, maybe some kids not into that flavor. So do you have any suggestions if you want to change up the swirl to something else?
Yes, absolutely. There are picky kids out there who don't want to try new things. I've been that kid. I get it. So one swap you could do is replace the tahini with cream cheese and a bit of jam. And then when you swirl that in, it's sort of like a cheesecake brownie. Yeah, totally delicious. A nice alternative to the tahini. But I say go with a tahini. It's going to be good, I promise.
Just don't tell the kids what it is. Just be like, oh, yeah, check it out. And then they'll be on to tahini.
Wouldn't be the first time you lied to
There
your
you go.
children.
Plenty of that to come. Colin, these have blown us away. Thank you for these sweet suggestions on how we can add a little bit of love to our little ones' lunch boxes. And for people like my mom who's watching right now who want these recipes, don't worry, we've got you covered. On all of our social media channels after the show, we will put all of it there, I promise. Do not go anywhere. Happy snacking. We'll be back after this.